Hi, I am Dr. Khan. I welcome you all on this medium provided by ETEN KSG. This is a medium through which I am going to reach you, giving exactly the same methodology that we are giving to the students which are sitting face to face. KSG has its branch in some cities where we are able to take our teachers. But then it is a big demand that we have always had. The same teaching style, the same pedagogy, the same stuff, the same material, which has produced topper of this year, rank 1, who was our student. I am very proud to mention that, in our comprehensive course, which is for preliminary examination as well as for main examination. I'm going to get you the same stuff across the country through so many centers. So there is no holding you if you are not able to physically travel to the face-to-face center. You can stay in your own city and you could still be in your own comfort zone without physically displacing, getting exactly that we have been delivering to the toppers all the time. In fact, it is actually a medium where we are trying to give you exactly the same methodology that we have always delivered to the students, which is very unique actually. If I can simplify as to how we are doing the things at KSG, at our Delhi branch, we keep things segmented where we are trying to work on you to take the best out of you. See, it is very important that we are living these days in an era of democratized information. Almost all information is available to all of you at all the time. But how we to go about using that information? How to go about making best use of it? It is something that we are going to work on you especially. Now, it may sound very abstract to you to begin with, but actually, the effort that we make is that not only put information in your mind, but also make you conscious as to how to take that information out. There are two levels in that. One level is what all to study and how we should all acquire. At one level, when you just acquired the information, you are prepared to take out the right answers, which is coming at PT level. But then there's another thing which is very important and quite often students miss out, and that level is the skill part of it. In fact, if I can simplify the secret behind KSG's methodology, it is the skill that we are able to impart in you to take out what you have acquired. See, I normally believe in the fact that when students are taking the examination, we have got huge gap between two students. One student is here, another student may be here. Big gap. But when UPSC takes a small slice of students who clear the PT examination, the gap between two students is very minimum, very small. And there's no guarantee somebody who is here or here is essentially going to top. Anybody can top. And there, what is important is how you actually reproduce the information. As you are aware that for PT, once you know the right answer, you can always share that and then that's it. But then, when you have the same information, how you are able to make use of that information is very important. If I give a simple example, you can imagine that we have a situation where one would find that if I say, what is the capital of India? Anybody would say, New Delhi. But if I give you 20 information about Delhi, let's say, for example, if I give you information about Delhi is a very old city situated on the bank of river Yamuna. If I tell you that it has got Aravalli foothills, you have air quality of Delhi is very polluted. It attracts people from all across the country. It has got a decently developed infrastructure, and it has got so much of population that quite often the civic amenities are bursting at seams. Now, if I ask you a question from here, what is your opinion of Delhi being the city of India as the capital? Now, each one of you would have acquired the same information, but I'm sure the answers are going to be different. And there where your processor is actually working. We ignite you that processor. We let you know as to how to really write an effective answer. And you may be wondering that if I am reaching you through this electronic medium, how could you possibly do that? In fact, if that was not possible, I would have not come to you on this medium. In fact, while we are giving you this lecture and information through this medium, I am going to be physically connected to you in the sense that you would write answers to the questions which I am going to give you on a regular basis. And those answers would travel to me, and the same team which evaluate the toppers of the country is going to evaluate your answer, give you comment, and then we go on mentoring you all along with your progress. In fact, we'll make a progress report also as to where you're starting and how you're moving. So I think I must underline this fact. The speciality of KSG methodology is keeping you almost always examinee, not a student. Student being one who would always be interested in acquiring information, while examinee is one who is knowing as to what to take out and how to take out. I'm going to work on you particularly on that. And that is what is going to be a unique blend of reaching and at the same time being physically connected to you. I'm sure while you have decided for this examination and you are going to prepare, there are plenty of questions which have been coming up in your mind. I would like to personally address those questions to you. As if you have any query, you could always ask me, and then I will be more than happy to answer your queries on that. Yes, please give me your questions now.
Sir, when one should start the preparation for civil service examination?
Well, there is a simple rule to this. Sooner you start, earlier you reach. If I talk about the topper of this year, she started her preparation with us, joining our foundation course at a time she was still in graduation. So it is always important that you should start, but then it is also important that since the journey is long, you should not run too fast to get tired too quickly. In fact, you should actually know when to peak. Starting as part of your graduation is always a good idea that gives you a competitive advantage, and it saves lots of your valuable energy that you spoil in collecting lots of informations which are actually not needed. So I would say the sooner you start preparing, the better it actually gets.
Sir, how much time should one devote for the preparation for the civil services?
It's a very difficult question to say that how much time that you should give it. You should give you 100%, but then if you ask me the quantitative aspect of it, I would rather assume about 300 hours is all what it requires. 3,000 hours it is actually required that is needed in this journey. This 3,000 hours, some of the people can complete in 1 year, some take 2 years, some take 3 years. But then, since you asked this quantity of time I'm giving you, but then it is important to not forget this aspect, that what are the aspects in which the time has been spent. It is actually the quality of time is very important, and this at KSG, when you are actually joining the course, we will ensure that the time that you are spending back home, I'm not talking about the class time here, the time that you spend back home, 3,000 hours, they are spent in the right direction. So direction is probably more important than the quantity of time that you may have asked me.
Sir, what should I keep in mind while choosing an optional subject?
For an optional to decide, in fact, there are so many factors that goes into play. I would like to number them as to those factors you should keep in mind. In fact, you should start thinking from this perspective when you're deciding about optionals. One factor that you should keep in mind while deciding your optional is your liking. You must like a thing to do it better, including this preparation. So first thing is your liking. If you like something, you study 1 hour extra, and if you study 1 hour extra, you can imagine how many extra hours that you are able to gather in this 1 year's or 2 year of preparation plan that you have for yourself. Second thing that you should be actually focused on is the GS overlap. You know that today, in the scheme of things, GS is a big player. If you're taking an optional which has got some overlap with GS, you end up covering substantial portion of GS along with your preparation of the same that is optional. The third component is how is the optional is doing as a trend these days. The third factor you can keep in mind. Fourth factor you should keep is tentative acquaintance, that if I have studied a particular optional in my part of graduation, I could possibly take that. But then if you have been waiting for that course to be over and you're too tired, please don't even go close to that. So tentative acquaintance is another. And the fifth factor which I would like to identify for you is how much of support system I'm able to gather. Like what are the coaching that I can get, what are the material can I get. If you have this this item which is available to you, then in that case you would be in a position to really do the job more comprehensively in shorter possible period of time. But for me, of all these 5 which I counted for you, the first remains most important. And you remember that? That is how and what you like to study more. If you like it, you always do better. Don't listen to too many people. Follow yourself, follow your own liking, you'd always do better.
Sir, when one should start preparing for mains examination?
As far as main examination preparation is concerned, I don't think you can simply segregate it for preparing it from PT. A lot of time people advise that you should prepare for mains, which is the bigger of the two. And if you're preparing for mains, the PT also get accommodated. In fact, it's a good idea that you start preparing for mains and then be factually conscious for the PT. In fact, for PT quite often, they would say that you will be having or will be required to cover more. But well, of course, I would assume that mains is the bigger picture. So you have to get deeper and wider both. So I would expect first to start with the main preparation and take preliminary examination also at the same time.
Sir, while writing answers during main examination, the terminology used, does it matters a lot?
Well, it is always a good idea that you should write the correct language which is required by the question. This terminology thing which I say, it is not something which is going to be extremely high-flying language that you have got. If that was the case, I think only technical people would have cleared those examinations. But you cannot be technical for all the subjects that you have got. You can be technical for 1, 2, maybe 3. You should be writing correct. What is demanded in the question, that is more important than writing about the jargonized English where you have got complex web of language that you have woven. Nobody is interested in that. I have seen in my career lots of students who have actually become successful writing very simple English. It's actually the content which is important, not the form in which you just go on writing.
Sir, what is the importance of word count in mains examination?
It is vital. If I say that word count is important from the perspective of the fact that you have got time which is counted. If the time is counted, you definitely, if you are not going proper as far as the word count is concerned, you would end up writing a lot of things which is not required. Let me underline one thing here. You end up writing more only when you are not very clear about what is asked in the question. And if you're writing something more in a particular question, you definitely have got time less. In fact, I ask you to practice writing legible, clear, and also at the same time covering enough to write all the answers. In fact, it's a good idea to practice somewhere close to about 30 words per minute. If you're practicing for about 30 words per minute, you will never have difficulty in the examination. That's my promise.
Sir, how important is it to face the interview with English as medium of expression?
Quite often people say that English is a good idea if you go for taking an interview. But UPSC in last few years, not long ago, has made a provision as a possibility that you can write your answer in English and give your interview in Hindi. So this barrier lots of students had, that they are good in expression as far as writing is concerned in English, but then they are not very fluent as far as vocal English is concerned. doesn't matter anymore now. You can easily give this interview in any language which is allowed by UPSC. Of course, Hindi is there.
Sir, is coaching important?
That's a very difficult question to answer. We have students passing without coaching also, but then important thing is that if you know that I have to reach here, you can reach this point traveling long distance on your own, asking address every corner. The second is that you have a GPS in your hand in the form of coaching institute that takes you to the shortest route which has got less traffic. The coaching institute actually acts like a GPS that takes you through rather a straighter route than you would have done it yourself. It is the basic difference of having some guide, some mentor available to you who can possibly be accessed to and asked than doing the entire thing yourself. In the older days, when optionals used to decide, coaching was not as important. But as and when we have got those general studies have become the most important thing as part of the total scheme of examination, the coaching becomes almost a necessity. As you see that almost all the toppers, they would have gone to some coaching institute or other. And that is where I would see these coaching institutes, because of general studies, to which the KSG is actually having the expertise of. We have always done only general studies, as the whole nation knows about it. We have tried to simplify the nuances of the general studies, which otherwise look so cluttered and so mixed up as such. So I would rather recommend, in the present disposition of things, coaching as an essentiality, which probably in a few years back, when the syllabus was different, was not as important.
Sir, do I need to prepare anything before starting my coaching for GS?
I think the methodology that we follow at KSG, that we are going to give it to you here, we are assuming that you are starting afresh. If you have read something, it's always an advantage. But then we would start from the basics. And that's what we are known for. We start with the basics, assuming that you are starting from scratch right away. And then you, even if you have studied, we would consider that we will take the whole thing fresh. Because if you want to study something on your own, there are very high chances you would end up reading a lot of things which is not required. So save your energy, valuable energy, and then give it the right direction based on the instructions that we are going to give you here in the classes conducted every day for you. That will be basically keeping you, your energy, guided in the direction which is where those 3 letters are waiting for you to be attached after your name. IAS or IPS or IRS, whatever you may have chosen for yourself.
Sir, is there any difference between the ETEN coaching VSAT and your face-to-face coaching in Delhi?
Apparently, as far as the teaching is concerned, there is no difference because you have the same teacher, the same style, the same pedagogy, and of course the material and the testing is also exactly the same that you have got. So I can see it is no difference except for the fact I will see you physically when you come to Delhi for the interview. Of course, at that time I'll be physically sitting with you, but otherwise for your PT and mains, there's no difference in the teaching style that we have got, the methodology that we have got, the testing that we have got, the other tools that we are using for teaching is concerned is exactly the same that I'm going to reach you. Only thing is that I'm reaching larger number of people thanks to the technology that we have now at our disposal.
Sir, how can I prepare for current affairs?
Current affair is very dynamic and in fact is always changing. And then quite often people get very confused because as we look into current affair, it appears like the first page left hand corner of the newspaper to the last page right hand corner bottom of the newspaper appears to be current affair. It is very difficult to actually identify what is current affair from a perspective from where you are asking. But we have our own expertise, and I would like to tell you that at this stage you can try experimenting on your own. Try reading the current affairs which is having long shelf life. Don't read something which is like very big but then it is not having its impact going to last for too long. Second thing, I would also like you to take care of the fact the issue which concern the wider masses. That is something which is important. So wider masses and long-term bearing are the two factors based on which you should be choosing your current affairs. And we on our website will be loading a lot of information for you every day. That would guide you to pick up the important informations which are connecting to the general studies. So current affair is going to be very dynamic, and in a special methodology that we have got, every Monday you would get to see from us or get from us one question paper where we would cover last 1 week current issues and based question, which will not only prepare you that you are ready for answering these questions, but also give you an indication that, hey, these were the current affairs which happened for my kind of purpose. So you would be on a weekly basis oriented to the current affair, and you would have no difficulty in understanding what is my current affair. That's something which we will gradually impart in you. I hope your queries have been answered. I'm going to catch you several times attending your queries individually in my personal capacity, and then if there are more questions to you, I'm going to get back to you very soon. So see you in the classes. Thank you very much. God bless you all.